Have you ever sat in a counselor's office and thought, I wonder what they're thinking right now? Well, today is your lucky day. We are pulling back the curtain. It is Confessions of a Marriage Counselor, right now on Love Lessons.
Real life. Real talk. Real relationships. Faith-based tips, tricks, and challenges to improve your marriage and change your life. It's the Love Lessons podcast with your hosts, Christian counselors and marriage experts, Dr. Zach and Blair Gammon.
Hey there, and welcome to the show. Welcome to all of our supporters and also Lydia.
Who's Lydia, Zach?
Well, so there are some statistics out there that say after a podcast makes it to its 12th episode, they're like 70-something% likely to succeed. Most fail within 3 episodes, and then if you make it to like 8 episodes, that like you've bid out 90% of podcasts, and after you make it to episode 12, then they say you're probably going to stick with it, and this is our 12th episode.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so we have a lot of supporters of Love Lessons.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of friends, whether it's because they truly enjoy it or they just feel sorry for us. But, you know, we've got a bunch of 5-star ratings in various places, except for one review that we just received from Lydia.
Oh, what did Lydia say?
Here in Lydia's own words.
Okay.
Lydia gave us a 1-star review.
Okay.
And she says, I would give this show 0 stars if I could. Ooh, edgy. These people don't take anything seriously, and listening to them is like listening to nails on a chalkboard. Just give it up already.
Listen, Lydia's not 100% wrong.
I would say that is the most accurate review that anyone has ever given Love Lessons.
Yeah. So thank you, Lydia. She got to know us really well. She got to the heart of it.
In just 12 episodes.
Yeah. In just 12 episodes.
For those of you who do enjoy it, we would love if you would go help get that average rating up a little bit. So go give us some 5 stars and
give us an accurate rating. I mean, we love 5 stars, but if you feel like it's a 1 star, I'd like to know that.
Tell us that privately.
It's a performance review.
Yeah, you can tell us that privately. So, Lydia, I doubt that you're listening. But if you are, girl, I don't know if he got you a vacuum for Christmas or if you're upset or something, but God love you. If you want to keep listening, hopefully we'll teach you something.
Yeah. Different strokes for different folks. It's probably my laugh that's the nails against the chalkboard.
I don't know. Maybe Lydia should start her own podcast.
Yeah.
So, hate lessons, I don't know.
Quit.
Okay, Lydia, Jesus loves you. We're trying. Did you enjoy Christmas?
I did. Had a great time. Fun was had.
It looks like it. There's a problem that I have every Christmas.
What?
That you always manage to guess what gift you're getting before you actually get the gift. Why do you ruin everything?
Why is this a me problem? Why don't you do better at surprises?
I have tried to surprise you so many times and you always ruin it.
Okay, but let's be honest. This is not just a Christmas issue. This is a present issue.
Yeah, you ruin everything all year.
No, this is a Christmas, a birthday, a I love you present. Like I have a knack for, and I don't try to know or ruin it. It's just this natural gift that I have.
Gift is a strong word, considering you ruin all of them. But it's not just with me. You've done this your entire life.
I have. I actually have to actively not pick up a box because I have this innate talent about knowing what's in the box.
Yeah.
Like it can feel like clothing and I'll know exactly what clothing item it is. Even if I've not asked for it. I don't know.
Are you like prophetic?
I'm not saying that. I am saying the Lord gives gifts to different people. And I'm saying mine is knowing a lot of times what my gift is ahead of time. And I don't want to know. I want to be surprised. That's why I don't pick up boxes or like put any thought into it. That's what I do in my brain to try to act like it's not coming so that I can like psych myself out to not know, because usually I'll figure it out.
There was one year that you didn't guess what I got you. And it was also the year that I ruined Christmas when you didn't guess what I got you. Do you remember this?
No.
You don't remember the shoes?
Oh.
And the purse?
Maybe not. Maybe I don't know what you're talking about with the purse.
So, what was this, like 2018, 2019? We were, I think, at the mall in Nashville, right? and one of the malls in Nashville. And we walked by one of the stores and you saw some pink Converses and you were like, oh, I love these things. And in my head, I'm thinking these things are hideous. They're like Pepto-Bismol pink.
They were.
And you like made mention of it. Like you went on and on about it. And this was middle of summer. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm totally going to get her these shoes for Christmas. So I had to search high and low. I had to like special order them online because I couldn't find them anywhere. It was a whole thing. I got them. And then you also mentioned that you really wanted a Kate Spade purse.
Oh, yeah.
And we walked through the Kate Spade store and you were talking about all the purses. And so I bought you a Kate Spade purse. Mm-hmm. And you hated both of those gifts with a passion.
For different reasons. I to this day do not recall telling you I liked those Converse shoes. Well, now, I'm not calling you a liar.
But you're not calling me a truther.
But I'm not calling you a truther either. I am saying that I am a shopper with my eyes and I am expressive. And so I will like enjoy things in the moment, but that doesn't mean that I want those things.
But this was different because you went on and on about these shoes to the point that I was like, shut up about the shoes.
You say that, and I don't even remember ever laying eyes on those shoes until I opened them out of that Christmas bag.
The look of disgust on your face.
Well, that's the second part, is Blair always guesses them, but I also have no poker face, and so if it's something I don't like, it's evident, and I really try hard.
Even if it's something you do like, you don't really do a great job
Not very
of
expressive, no.
You're like, I could get you, like, real pearls or, like, you know, a 14-karat gold or something. That's true. You wouldn't like any of those things. But okay,
I feel like
something that you really, really wanted, and you'd be like, oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
Yes. I've been that way my entire life.
Yeah. I could buy you your dream house. I could build you your dream house and show it to you and be like, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
I feel a lot of joy in my heart, but it's just not something I express. I love giving gifts to people. I love them getting excited. Internally, I feel like I'm that excited outwardly. But I recognize now through multiple people telling me that I'm not. And I realized that as a child, like they were kind of like, do you like it? I was like, yeah. And they were like, well, we couldn't tell. You know, they never said that, but I know that they were probably thinking, you sure?
Well, that's also translated into other areas of your life because you have a resting beep face with a lot of people.
It's just my face.
Here's what I love.
Very nice.
I know.
Face.
Here's what I love. Well, that's debatable. Not according to Lydia. What I find really funny is that there have been times that you were like, I was trying really hard to be like really attentive and smiley and stuff. Did I do it? And the whole time you're just like glaring at the other person. Like, I want to pour gasoline on you and set you on fire.
Yes, sometimes Zach will have to text me if we're in a social setting, be like, your face.
Yeah.
So that I can like try to rearrange it because it's like I'm thinking of something or I'm concentrating intently and that makes me lose all expression other than anger. And so I have to like watch that when I'm in sessions.
That's the baseline, right?
Too.
That's your baseline. It's just anger.
Well, I have to watch it when I'm in sessions with clients as they're telling me things and I'm processing. I'm like, do I look like I'm angry at them right now for this story they're telling me? Yeah. And I hope that the answer is no. No one's ever said, like, you good, girl? But I'm not sure. No one's ever called me on it. So if you're a client and you happen to listen to this and I do that, then call me on it.
That's funny.
Inwardly, it's rainbows and butterflies, but outwardly, I look like I'm ready to rage.
I had a client one time say, you have the most empathetic face, which sounds like kind of a compliment, but I kind of felt like it was an insult. I'm like, do I look like I'm on the verge of tears here? I don't know.
I'm gonna need you to put on your empathetic face at times. I'm gonna ask you to pull that one out.
So if somebody's like pouring their heart out to me or whatnot, I'm not like glaring at them. I try to look like, you know, offer some genuine care in the situation. I don't know.
You're not giving them the Blair glare?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
That's something that I receive on a regular basis, though. In our last episode, people saw it when you were glaring at me.
Yeah, how are you going to put me on blast like that? I even had friends reached out and they were like, you good, girl? He did you dirty. And I'm like...
I had friends that reached out and said that was the greatest thing that I've ever seen. Somebody even said, I wish you guys had your own TV show.
I think that's 0 stars, right? Like...
Oh, no. This is, you know, I'm putting it out there now. This is just our launching pad.
Is that prophetic, Zach?
No, that's on my vision board in my bedroom.
Is that your 2024 vision board?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Love Lessons TV.
Call us Oprah. The Gammon.
I think we're going to need a nicer studio setup than this.
You may be right.
Yeah.
We might have to not do episodes from our house.
That's probably, well, post-COVID, though, that's the cool thing to do, I did see something on Facebook not the other day. It could have been 3 months ago, who knows. But it said every celebrity must own a house with a normal looking room so they can do apology videos in. So there was the Drew Barrymore thing where she tried to go back on the air during the writer's strike. We stayed on during the writer's strike. Are we bad people?
We wrote all of our content.
Oh, okay. We're not part of the union, I guess.
No,
we're not getting paid for this.
No.
It's a good thing we're not getting paid in stars because we'd get none from Lydia.
No soup for you.
Yeah, so she did that apology video. There was one of I think it was Ashton Kutcher maybe. And and they were doing one.
But did you see where it was actually at?
No.
They had this wood barn look behind them.
Yeah.
They actually were out in their backyard against a barn in the back.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bless their hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have normal people setups just for their apologies. Yeah. So if I ever have to do an apology video, I guess I'll be doing it right here on Love Lessons. Mm-hmm. So I'm not apologizing for last week.
I'm gonna say you owe me an apology.
Oh no, that was a gift to the Love Lessons listeners.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear a fun fact?
Do you have any? I ask you that every time, and every time you do not. You have things, but they're not fun. Last week's was not fun.
Okay, last week's was an exception. It was not fun for you, but for the rest of us, we had a great time.
Okay.
I'm still getting texts about this. People love it. Somebody said, two of our friends from church, Corey and Whammy his name is James. Everybody calls him Whammy. They were on their way back from work about an hour 15 away, and so I guess they couldn't find anything else better to do, so they listened to that episode, and they were giving rave reviews. They think that the treatment that you received was appropriate.
I'll have a talk with their wives about this.
Mm-hmm. Maybe their wives think that the treatment that you received is appropriate.
They would be on my side. Lay it out. Give me the fun fact.
Here it is.
You're already smiling, so I know it's already going to be some level of crap.
All of Love Lessons is some level of crap.
0 stars.
0 stars.
Okay.
A new study finds that nearly half of men think they could safely land a plane in an emergency.
So, no training?
No.
An emergency, and they're going to put on, their super safety plane flying man skills?
Yes. And what's funny is that you asked me about this. So this was a TikTok trend a couple months ago, and it turns out it was a trend because they had started a study, or they completed a study. Somebody picked it up, and so it was this whole thing. And so you asked me one night.
Yeah, I did.
Do you remember this? Just out of the blue, you were like, hey, so if there was an emergency situation on a plane, the pilot had some kind of issue, and you were in the cockpit, if you had nothing but somebody to walk you through it from air traffic control, do you think you could safely land a commercial plane?
And do you remember what your response was?
Yes, without hesitation, I said, absolutely, I do.
So let me get this straight. You drop a trailer in the middle of the street because you can't haul a trailer, but you can land a plane?
I did not have anything to do with hooking anything up to the plane. I drove the trailer successfully after it was hooked up right.
Excuses.
It's not excuses.
I wonder if men really and truly think that, or if they just want to believe that they could.
Yeah, I've never been in a situation where I've had to land a commercial airliner. I'm sure it is probably pretty difficult, but I would like to think that I could.
The ego that it takes for a person to think that they could do something that difficult.
That's not
with
true at all.
No I just could not imagine. I cannot imagine.
You can't even express that you appreciate a gift, okay? What do you know?
You can't get out of the house on time. How are you going to
Those two things do not correlate to each other. Me being yes, the plane will be late if I have to land it, okay? Somebody's going to have to walk me through it, all right? We're going to have to circle, the airport a few times, but...
You're not going to know how to do that.
Somebody can say, here's where you push the button to get the landing gear to come out, to deploy the landing gear. You got to use the real technical terms.
Oh, okay.
move your little joystick throttle thing, and you'll be fine.
I'm just saying I don't want to be on that plane with you. This is a solo trip you're taking because I don't want to be on it.
There are some YouTube videos out there where they will play like the air traffic control track if like a student pilot is doing something. And there was, I don't know how I come across these, but every so often I do. Maybe it's on TikTok. Anyway, the point is like there'll be a student pilot, and there was one where like the flying instructor had some kind of medical emergency, heart attack or something. They passed out. I don't know what it was. And so like this was the student's first time in the plane.
Oh, wow.
Behind the wheel, behind the whatever that thing's called. I don't know the technical terms.
You should, if you're going to land a plane safely.
They can walk me through it. And
they're going to tell you to grab the thing, and you're not going to know the technical name for it.
I can figure out the technical name for it. Thank you. Anyway, and so this poor girl had to like land the plane, with no help other than air traffic control. Now, granted, it was a little, 2 or 4 seater, not a commercial airliner, but still. And then there was another situation where there was a guy who was, I think he was on his first solo flight, still in school, and the landing gear broke.
Oh.
And somebody recognized, saw it as he was taking off, could see like the front wheel of the landing gear had broke off, and so they had to like walk him through how to land it, and that was really impressive. And then I've seen some where they'll be driving those little commuter planes and like the engine will go out, and that's the thing that gets me. Like they're just as calm as like, I mean, like you're not just gonna go and hit the ground, like you're gonna coast and float, but they're just like calm, and they'll radio to air traffic control and be like, I need a safe place to land, lost my engine. Meanwhile, my hair would be on fire.
Yeah, which is why you cannot land a plane. The ego that it takes for men, the pride.
Maybe it's just that men have this innate mechanical ability.
That's not true, because I know you.
Listen, I can do it, okay? It might say that the project will take 30 minutes and I've got to take 6 trips to, advanced auto parts, and it ends up taking 6 hours, but I will finish it.
This is one of those areas that we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Listen.
Because I disagree that you would be able to do that, or half of men would be able to. I think they could, which is what the study says. They think they could, but that just shows us the state of where we are today in America.
Here's what I know. Miss Price retired.
I was 13. You leave my little 13-year-old self alone.
And you were in love.
Yes, I was. I'm not feeling love right now, though.
This
stab lessons
is love lessons. So I've noticed a trend over the years when it comes to people coming for marriage counseling.
Okay.
A lot of times they come in and they think that their situation is so earth-shattering that they're the only person on the planet that can't be fixed, right? Because they're like stuck in it, and it's so hard to kind of like see perspective on that.
Right.
Yeah. And so I've had some people over the years that have been like, what are you thinking? Do you think that we can really make it through this? Are we going to survive? And I'm like, y'all are arguing because you don't agree like on how often you mow the lawn.
Pizza toppings.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to survive.
Yeah, but we've also seen people that have decided to end relationships on those trivial things. But it's not those trivial things. It was just the icing on the cake. Yeah. So, yeah.
So pizza toppings are a no-go, but icing on the cake is fine. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep, that's what you're hearing.
Yeah. No, I think it's important for people to recognize because so many times we'll have folks come in and it's one of the things that I kind of chuckle at, not laughing at people just because it's so interesting that it almost always happens. People will be like, I don't know if you're going to be able to help us. And I'm like, this is the 4th session I've had today where we've talked about this same thing. Like, this is so common.
Yeah, and they don't have that perspective like we do. They don't know that that's part of it. And because it is so big in their world and it's taking over, and they may have never experienced it before, or if they have before, they know how detrimental it's been. They think that it is earth-shattering because it is shaking their foundation.
Yeah.
But being someone with perspective, we can see on the other side of it, okay, like we know what a couple of paths out of this could look like. And it's different for each couple, but a lot of times there's the same trends and the same processes that you use to get out of the situations that you're in.
Yeah.
And they just don't have the perspective to always see that. Yeah. But yeah, this is the worst thing ever. And perspective, it's like, no, this is the fourth worst thing ever I've had today.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you say to somebody who's thinking about marriage counseling and they're just not sure? They're like, I don't even know if we can survive this. I don't know that, like, is the counselor going to judge me? Or are they thinking that, I'm an idiot? What do you say to somebody who might be having those thoughts but doesn't really know how to voice them?
So what I would say is, your counselor's not judging you because you likely don't have anything going on that your counselor has never heard or seen before that is worth their judgment. Like, they likely are not thinking another thing about this after you've told them, other than let's create a path out of this. They're not spending a lot of time being like, oh, wow, they did this or that. Like, it's almost a detail you have to understand the context of the story, but it's so minute that it doesn't really contribute to the overall healing aspect of things. I would say that person probably needs to do some self-reflection of, why are they concerned about being judged? Why are they concerned with the approval of another person? And if they're so concerned about that, will that have an impact on the therapeutic process? Will they be doing things just to make the counselor happy, or will they actually be doing things to make their life or their relationship better?
Yeah.
What's their motive behind that?
Well, I think it probably depends on context, too, of the situation that you're coming in. I could see how someone, if they've been unfaithful to their spouse and they're trying to work through that, they could think, okay, this counselor is going to think that I'm the worst person ever because, I cheated on my husband or wife.
And, the motive behind that is shame.
Yeah.
And so when that's the case, then we need to get to the root of the shame and why you made the choices that you made.
Yeah.
So again, you're focused on what you did, and the counselor's focused on why did you do it, and how can we not do that again?
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes. Why did you do it, and how can we put a roadmap in place to not do it anymore?
Yeah.
So just understand that your counselor's not really concerned about what it is that you did. It's what can we put in place to not have that behavior occur again.
What I've noticed as a counselor too, and I certainly can't speak for all marriage counselors, they're kind of like bus drivers. There are some good ones out there and some poor ones out there.
That's true for anything, but
sure. That's just the first thing that came to mind.
It's true for pilots.
You leave my piloting skills out of this. Thank you. But for me, if I see someone who comes in and they've been unfaithful or they've confessed to pornography addiction or something like that, I really have such a heart for those broken people. Yeah. And, for me, shame and condemnation is the farthest thing from what I'm thinking. And I think that's probably an accurate statement for 90-something% of counselors, is that there's no there's no judgment there. It's just, and it's not pity either. I don't pity people. Yeah. It's just that, I have such a heart for people who are broken in that way. And my heart really does break for you, not in a pitiful kind of way, but just like, I'm so sorry that you're having to experience this, but it's also an honor that you are willing to share this with me, right? And allow me to kind of walk through the situation with you.
Well, and let's also look at it that you're not coming to counseling because your life is great.
Right.
Like, we talk and see people every day who are on, various levels or different parts of the spectrum with struggles that they're having. But we don't see people that come in that are like, life is great, I don't really need counseling, but wanted to come hang out as first-time clients or as their first session. And so we know. If you want to,
though, come on.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. But we already know you're coming for a reason, right? So we already know there's something that we need to work through. There's something we need to tackle. So I'm already prepared for you to tell me some big thing in your life because that's how we have to do this.
The point of why we're here.
Literally what we're doing through this. Yeah. So what I'll say is that a lot of these situations are difficult, but they're not usually unique. Like we indicated earlier, I've had 4 of these today. People feel like their situations are unique, and there are certainly things about those that are unique to them, but by and large, the trend a lot of times is something that we've seen before, or we'll see, multiple in a day, or have similar on our caseloads. And so we don't say that to invalidate your struggles or what you're going through or why you're in counseling, but almost to encourage you that this is a normal thing that people are dealing with. It doesn't mean that it's okay and that you should stay here, but you are not alone in this and or too far gone for something to be done about this.
Yeah. Something that I like to remind people, I tell them in the first session, and then I'll usually remind them several times throughout the process, is that you are incredibly normal. Like not to your point, not in a diminishing way or to take away from anything that you're experiencing, but that this is, it's common, whether that's good or bad. Infidelity is incredibly common.
Right.
Pornography addiction is incredibly common. Arguing with your spouse is incredibly common. But on the flip side of that, that means that I have some experience in dealing with these things, right? And so it's not earth-shattering news to us. You're not going to come into the office and say, I've been unfaithful to my spouse, and we, I'm broken and I want to find healing, and we want to come together, and I just don't know how we're going to do it. I'm not sitting there like, I don't know how we're going to do it either. Right? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
Yeah. No, we're going to work through it together, and we're going to figure out, how to heal. Yeah. So, as an aside, though, to a point that something we said a couple minutes ago, is that it doesn't happen often, but there are a handful of folks that we have that nothing is particularly wrong in their life. They just need a safe place to vent and express themselves. Yeah. I've had, a handful of clients over the years who, they've owned large businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, or they work in an industry where, they're under a microscope or whatnot. And I had a client one time that said, nothing is particularly wrong in my life. I just need to vent about my job to somebody who can't talk about it to anybody else.
Yep.
And I'm like, great. And in that case, I'm on your side all the time. I don't care if you're in the wrong or not. I'll agree with you. They are the worst.
Well, and that's why we establish goals, in the beginning of the counseling process, is what are you hoping to accomplish through this process? Yeah. If you just want to vent and have a safe place to do that, I would say in that situation you explained, we allow it. I would also allow that. In certain situations, if you're just coming in to vent and you need to do some work and you're not, that's when I'm going to have to put on my tough hat and say, okay, it's time to do some work. Do you really want to do work and make changes, or do you just want to come in here and have somebody to complain to?
Well, and that's the difference. There's a difference in venting and complaining.
That's true.
If you're in a situation that's high stress and high pressure and you just need to be able to blow off some steam and just say, I just get so frustrated when everything is expected of me and there's nothing I can do about it because I'm the owner of this company, and the buck stops here. There's that versus my employees don't ever listen to me, and I do all these passive aggressive things and nobody likes it. Those are two very different things.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
So there are a few things, though, I will say, that tend to get, I wouldn't say frustrating, but I'm like, come on now, when somebody says it or does it in therapy.
Okay.
So let this be a warning or a lesson. A love lesson.
They're all like, oh crap, did I say this when I went to therapy? Was my therapist judging me? No. But it's like, oh, okay, they're one of those.
I'm pretty, well, I'm not very judgmental, but I would like to think I'm not judgmental at all. But I also just kind of tell it like I see it. So if you're a client and you hear this is not going to be the first time you're hearing it because I've said it to your face. But I do roll my eyes when somebody comes in and they try to be like super edgy and like say something for shock value.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and when somebody does that, I literally do not care. Nice try.
See, you say that, and then I say something equally as shocking. Try to like call their bluff on it. Yeah. It's almost like I'm trying to get attention or trying to see like if I can shake the counselor.
Yes.
And so I'm going to say something that is edgy, unexpected, or whatever it is. And it's one thing if you really and truly are having one of those situations. It's another thing if you're doing it for attention or, what are your motives within it?
And we've been doing this long enough that we can discern which is which.
Yeah, we know.
And I'm someone who we kind of joked about this the last session. I really don't have a great poker face. And so if you say something that is shocking, like I'll sit in that with you, that is surprising. Like if you've genuinely been through something really difficult, I'm going to say, wow, that really sucks. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I'm sorry that you've gone through that. I'm sorry this has been the experience for you. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference in that and then coming in and being like, I can get any woman I want and I'm this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, give it a rest. You were not that impressive. I said this to a client one time. Like, bro, you're not impressing me. And then we were able to get some work done. So.
Or why do you feel the need to impress me right now? What's going on inside of you that makes you feel the need to do that?
That's always fun. It's funny. It's funny because I do that too, and you and I approach this the same way. Our voice gets really soft.
Tell me why.
Yeah. What's going on right now? Yeah. So.
Why did you feel like you needed to share that outlandish story that had no point to this situation?
Right.
Because you wanted to impress me. Guess what? I don't need to be impressed. I'm good.
You're like Shania Twain looking at Brad Pitt.
Whatever.
Here's another one. Do not use counseling as an excuse, marriage counseling as an excuse to come in and say, I tried everything I could. No, you showed up to one session.
That I have, yeah. If you really and truly tried and the other party was not willing to do the work, like there are very few times that I can say counseling, they did try and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Usually it's that they've already made the decision that one party at least doesn't want to do this. They're ready to leave the relationship.
And they want to blame the counselor.
Want to say, I did everything, so that they can kind of take the blame off of themselves, blame the counselor, or say, there was nothing to be done to fix this relationship. We did everything we could. Attending or going through the motions is not doing everything that you can. You have to show up in good faith. If you show up to one session, to two sessions, like, oh, it didn't work, did everything I could. If you say that to me, I will say back to you, no, you didn't. You have failed.
I'll push you out the window.
Try. I don't think we're going to do that. That's the reason you have no windows in your office. That's why we put you in the little hobbit hole in the back. Yeah.
No, I don't like to make blanket statements, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption. If you attend 4 sessions or less, you didn't do everything you could. It takes a couple of sessions just to try to wade through all the stuff.
Yeah, and create goals and figure out what you're going to do. Yeah. If you expect in 4 sessions that it's going to be fixed, and I think you say this to clients, and I'm very clear when we first start, like, this is not a one and done or a two and done. If that is the case, then you are signing up for fast food, and this is a 4-course meal.
Yeah. Well, and I tell people, you didn't get here to this spot in 4 weeks, right? Even if you just found out that your spouse cheated, you didn't get there in just 4 weeks. Like, this has been a process, and so we're not going to fix it in a handful of sessions. And so don't bust up in my office, pull out the theatrics and storm out in session 1 or session 2 because you don't want to do this anymore, and this was all a waste of time. And I'm like, this is
okay.
Ran it in.
Next.
Right. Like, and so
you touched on a good thing there, a good point there. Fix it. That is another pet peeve that I have. And it's something that I have a pet peeve about, but I also recognize that people don't know this.
Right.
So it's my own thing, is when they say, here's all my junk, fix it. What are you going to do to fix it?
Nothing.
Nothing. Because, and we don't understand that it's not our counselor's job to fix it if we've never been to counseling before, or if we don't have a right understanding of what that process looks like.
Yeah.
Counseling is a process that is made for you to be able to be aware of what you're feeling, what you're going through, create a plan to help you get out of that. Christian counseling is where's God in all of that. And your counselor walks alongside you and helps give you the tools to do so. But we are not brain surgeons. We cannot fix anything. You're not a plumber. You're not a teacher. Like, we can't fix anything. Yeah. All we can do is support and love and encourage.
Well, and I would argue that the point of counseling is that you're not going to fix your marriage. You're going to restore it, right? Restoration is the goal. Or
renovate.
Yeah.
If it never was what it needed to be.
Establish it on a firm foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a former client, he and his wife used to see me. I think they both listen to the show now, but he used to get so mad at me in session because he would come in, and we did this for a couple of months where he would come in and I have his permission to share this, by the way. He would come in and just word vomit for the first 30 minutes of our 45-minute session. And then he would get done. His wife would just be sitting there like, kind of dazed and confused. And finally he'd say, okay, what do we need to do to fix this? And every time I'd be like, I don't know. Well, what do you mean? What do I need to do to fix this? Mm-hmm. It's not our job to fix it. It's our job to make this relationship healthy. Mm-hmm. And then, he came around and he would get so mad at me. And then finally one day he came in and he was like, okay, I get it. I'm not going to tell you a story. I'm not asking you to fix anything. Here's what I did wrong this week. And I'm like, yes, Mm-hmm. So, and they have a very successful marriage now. Mm-hmm. They're thriving. And so
correct perspective on what it should look like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So. I can help you walk through things. Mm-hmm. I cannot give you a lobotomy.
Yeah. We can offer a free consultation.
Free consultation. Mm-hmm. But you do not want to give me the tools to change your brain.
Right.
Not qualified. Outside of my scope of practice.
There you go. That's always fun to say, isn't it?
It's outside of my scope of practice.
Yeah. Here's one that comes up, and I don't see it as much at the office as I used to, but it still does happen. Are couples who come in and they get into these knockdown drag-outs in session. And there are some people who feel so ashamed when that happens, right? And I'm like, don't do it every session. But I'm like, for me as a counselor, it's helpful to see that dynamic.
Right. Now, if you're doing it every time and we're not making progress, that's when we're going to have to discuss it.
Right.
But sometimes I need to see how a fight starts, how it ends, what your patterns, your negative cycles are, how you interact, what you jump to, what other things you bring in when you throw the kitchen sink into it. Like, if I can see what this looks like when you're at home, then there are times that it's very helpful for me to help you break that cycle.
Mm-hmm. And there's even been times
what you're doing.
There have been times in session where I have a couple that, like, they come in and either one of them are really talking, that I'll prompt a fight just to watch it unfold. And people are not that complex, really. And so it's like you kind of learn over the years, like, the buttons to press to get people going. Mm-hmm. And I don't do it like in a malicious way, but I need to, you're not telling me anything, and I need to see what the issue is here. Mm-hmm. And so you're right. Don't do it every session, because that's not helping anybody.
Well, you're not making any progress. You're just arguing.
You're wasting
learning
your time and money.
Yeah, but sometimes it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's beneficial sometimes for things to come out. And so don't feel ashamed. Like, you're going to an individual who has been trained on how to handle emotions and how to help you navigate those. Mm-hmm. So it's normal that you're going to feel some of those in the session.
Yep.
So.
Emotions. So big.
So big.
So complex.
That's when we get the feelings wheel out.
Yep. Lots of feelings. I would say most issues that I deal with now, I don't deal with anything that's super complex that's outside of my scope of practice. But a lot of those issues.
I'm going to start using that whenever you ask me to do something at home.
You're saying it's outside of your scope of practice.
Can you hang these curtains? It's outside my scope of practice. Sorry.
Well, listen, I'm going to educate you, so it's not going to be.
Feel free to use that with your spouse. Sorry, can't cook dinner. It's outside my scope of practice.
It's not good advice. Do not do that.
DoorDash may be within your scope of practice, though. Pizza delivery, that is well within my scope of practice.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Landing a plane, not in my scope of practice.
I'm glad that you've recognized that.
Yes.
I'm glad that you put some thought into it and realized.
Got some perspective.
Got some perspective. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times couples get into these patterns where they have what really I think are just kind of silly arguments, but you feel the conflict feels so big that it feels like it's almost insurmountable, right?
Yeah.
And so to borrow a phrase from my grandparents, you make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
And we've experienced this. We've gotten into some really stupid fights.
Yeah.
Over the years.
And are you disagreeing about the silly thing sometimes, or is there something bigger underneath? Yeah. And sometimes that's the case. And you have to really be able to discern what it is to figure out how you move forward and make emotional repairs in that.
Yeah. And so this is not to diminish anything that you're feeling or anything that you're going through, but I think that there is value in recognizing that sometimes we just need a little bit of perspective.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So a few years ago, there was this trend that was really popular online, and I get a kick out of it, and I giggle every time that I read them. So now I want to share some here, called "That's When the Fight Started." Mm-hmm. Right. So I have a few examples, and so these are all husbands. Don't use these as ideas for conversation starters. It's not going to end well for you. So here's one. My wife and I were sitting at a table at her high school reunion, and she kept staring at a drunken man swigging his drink as he sat alone at a nearby table. I asked her, "Do you know him?" And she said, "Yes. He's my old boyfriend. I understood he took to drinking right after we split up those many years ago, and I hear he hasn't been sober since." "Wow," I said. "Who would think a person could go on celebrating for that long?" And that's when the fight started. Don't recommend that.
No. 10 out of 10. No, 0 out of 10. I always get that wrong.
Yeah, no recommendation there.
0 stars, 0.
Sort of like Lydia's review.
Yeah.
Just for the record, we're not really that butthurt about Lydia's review. We're just having a great time
No,
with
I
it.
think it's funny.
You know, if you want to send some more bad reviews, it's fine. If you want some airtime on love lessons, just give us a bad review.
We'll reinforce negative behavior.
There you go. That's not an encouragement. We want people to listen.
Mm-hmm.
My wife sat next to me as I was flipping channels. She said, "What's on the TV?" And I said, "Dust."
And that's when the fight started.
That's when the fight started. You want to read this last one?
I haven't read this yet, so I'm reading this cold. My wife was standing naked, looking in the bedroom mirror. She was not happy with what she saw, and she said to me, "I feel horrible. I feel old, fat, and ugly. I really need you to pay me a compliment." I replied, "Your eyesight's dang near perfect."
And that's when the fight started. So, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, don't pick those low-hanging fruit, but also don't sweat the small stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So there are so many times that even well-meaning conversations can turn into arguments, right? We had a few years ago, oh gosh, it's more than a few. The girls were little.
It's been over a decade.
Yeah. You know, listen, the other day could refer any time between yesterday and, you know, when Gorbachev lost power in the USSR.
Yeah.
So, that was him, right? Right? He had to, I don't know.
You're asking me questions I don't know the answer to.
I'm having a crisis here. It's the Russian mafia again. Where was I going? Oh, our argument. We got into a fight one day. We were driving, and we got into like an hour-long argument over who would be the better person out of the two of us to die, because of who would be the better parent to the girls if they had to do it by themselves.
That was probably our dumbest argument.
Yeah. And we were so mad at each other.
It got heated.
Like, we stopped talking to each other finally.
Yeah, we had silent treatment, I think, for a little while.
Yeah.
Looking back, like, that was so silly.
It was the dumbest thing.
That was a hypothetical that we blew out of proportion and used to hurt each other in that moment.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, there have been situations, and not just in counseling, but just in within our friend groups and people we go to church with and stuff, where, you know, people have said, like, you know, my marriage is in serious trouble now because we got into an argument over something that doesn't even mean anything, and we just kept going and going and going and going. And so I think it's just so stinking important to remember to keep perspective, you know, when you're in a situation and it feels like you're arguing about something silly.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know, there's, you know, people that I've talked to have gotten into fights over, like, loading the dishwasher and, you know, toppings on pizza and all these silly stuff. And it just, you need to ask yourself, where are you going to be in 5 years and if this is going to matter, right?
And sometimes it will.
Yeah.
And that's when you need to dig in to resolve the conflict.
Yeah. So what do you recommend to somebody who, if they're in one of these situations where they're just kind of in this, like, this cycle with their spouse where they can't get off the bike and it just keeps rolling? How do you stop this once it's started?
I think that you have to step out of the cycle for a bit to try to get some perspective. You have to remove yourself and really put some thoughts into what's happening and what your own motives are. You can, you know, try to look to see what the motives of the other person are, but you don't know what that is. You would just be imputing motive at that point. And so you really need to look at what your own motives are and why you're responding the way that you are, even if it's in response to what they're doing, to figure out, why are we doing this, or why am I doing this, and where do I want to be? What am I wanting to accomplish? And figure out where the roadmap is from where point A is to where we want, you know, the end of the journey to be. And figure out what a communication plan with your spouse would look like. How to communicate. Hey, you know, this hurt my feelings, or I realize that I'm bringing dysfunction into our relationship by, you know, what I did, and I want the end goal to be, you know, blank. And so will you work with me on that? Can we as a team come together and collaborate and work on being more respectful, or making sure that this does not become bigger than it needs to be, or whatever it is. So perspective, create a goal, be vulnerable, and asking your spouse to join you in meeting that goal.
And that in and of itself, that last point, can be a huge game changer in a relationship. Be vulnerable in front of my spouse. I mean, there was a time early on in our marriage where that was just absolutely not. I would never.
Yeah. We were able to be funny together and have humor. But when it came to deep feelings, or, confessing some of those things that were bothering us about each other, or traumas that we had been through. Yeah,
it's crazy. So it can be life-changing.
And that is how you create more emotional intimacy in your relationship, is being vulnerable and creating an environment where your spouse can be vulnerable with you.
And if you've never done that, if you've never taken that opportunity to be vulnerable, it can be so scary because you don't know how it's going to be received. And it might not be received well the first time, right? So not only do you have to amp yourself up to get there, to be vulnerable, but then also recognizing I may have to do this again after I get shot down.
Right.
So
don't stop trying because it did not work out well once. When you rode a bike, you likely did not get on and know how to do it. You probably fell off a couple of times. You had some mishaps. And so the same concept. Don't stop trying just because the tool does not work one time.
Exactly.
Today's love note is a gentle reminder to give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes when the other person messes up, we think that they did it intentionally, just to hurt us or to make us mad. But remember, we're all human here. Show some grace. Kindness is much better received than a reprimand, and you might be surprised to see how the dynamic in your relationship shifts if you take this approach.
So you're saying that I guess I should be kind to you or whatever?
Gracious and kind. A loving word and not a reprimand, yes.
I should stop reading your 20-plus-year-old articles on love lessons.
Yeah, that would be great.
But everybody loves it. Everybody loves it.
Not everybody. You overgeneralize there.
Okay. Everybody but one person.
Okay. Thank you.
Two people.
Thank
Two
you
people.
for
You and Lydia.
Thank you for that truth.
Okay. I want to find your diary from when you were 13 and just read. Those would be some love lessons.
No one wants that. It doesn't exist, so you don't have to worry about it. It's all in the brain.
Coming up on the next episode of Love Lessons, all of Blair's inner thoughts from when she was 13 years old. Right here for you.
No. Bless them. They don't want it.
Okay, we'll come up with something better than that.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Hey, don't forget to submit your dirty laundry questions to us. You can email us at hello@lovelessons.fm, or you can send them over to our Facebook page to search for Love Lessons. And as always, if you want to remain anonymous, we'll be happy to do that for you. Take care. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Love Lessons podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.